The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sharon Ryan, and I'm the Assistant Director in the Alumni Office here at William Patterson. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar on Financial Planning 201, presented by WP alumnus Saul Simon, class of 1984. Before I introduce our presenter, I'd like to go over how this webinar will work. First of all, you should be able to see the presentation on your computer screen. You'll also be able to hear the presentation through your computer's audio system. We will be taking questions, so feel free to type your questions in, and we will be monitoring them. We will answer questions at the end. Also wanted to let you know a few of you have sent questions in already via email last night and this morning. We will answer those questions at the end of the presentation, and any questions that we don't get to in today's webinar, I will send to Saul, and he will happily answer your questions. So now I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Saul Simon is a William Patterson alumnus. He has been a certified financial planner practitioner for probably about 25 years and is the owner of Simon Financial Group. Saul specializes in working with individuals and business owners to develop strategic financial plans that help them reach their financial and family objectives. Saul believes that the more you know, the better your finances will be. So he sponsors lectures on financial planning for corporations, adult educational programs, and community organizations. Saul also hosts a TV show, I think, called Simon Says, Manage Your Money, and has appeared as a guest on CNBC, Fox Business, and Steve Adubato, Caucus, New Jersey, and One on One. And now I would like to introduce Saul Simon, presenting Financial Planning 201. Saul?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. I was going to wait a little for the applause, and I should have put some audio sound in just to make it more humorous for everybody. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be able to share and offer some insight and education. It's my privilege to be able to do that. So in front of you is my handsome face. I did write a book. It's called Love Your Legacy, A Guide to Financial Education for You and Your Family. And why don't we just get started? So as Sharon mentioned, feel free to, send in some questions. It's my pleasure to help answer them as best as I can. I really don't know who's on the phone. I don't know who's listening. So I'm going to do a very kind of a broad overview as to this financial planning conversation. So the way I wanted to start is to maybe help us realize and organize our thinking that the way we receive information today is absolutely overwhelming. And I have empathy for every single one of you in trying to accomplish what you're up to in life. We're constantly being bombarded on radio and television. If you think about all the advertisements that hit us from either Fidelity or wirehouses, or talking about college planning and or taxes and or retirement and estate planning, not even in addition to the information about buying or leasing a car and mortgage rates, and then the conversation of medical and doctors and prescriptions. What I'm saying is that everything falls the onus on you. You. And this is your money. This is your financial, your health, your medical well-being. And, candidly, it's just overwhelming. So my job is to educate someone. People have called me their personal CFO, to help them to organize and to take all this information like a puzzle and see if we can fit it, dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and having it be most efficient for you. So these are some of the subjects that we're going to cover today, and you could read them, so I'm not going to do that. So here we have wealth accumulation. Here we have risk management and retirement, estate planning, and I added something about charity, which we may have time to go over. So the first almost selfish thing that I would ask you to think about is, number one, Simon says, pay yourself first. everybody on your budget, everybody on your expense sheet gets compensated and paid. Otherwise, they shut off the electric, the gas, and the telephone. I request that you put your name on the top of the list. I don't care if it's for $100 or $1,000 a month. I want you to be a payor. I want you a payee on your expense list. So on the bottom, what this is reading is how much do I need to protect my lifestyle? So like the first part of the pyramid is, am I okay? I'm looking at, do I have certain types of insurance? One of the things I constantly tell people is every product that you own, you need to manage it. You need to look at it. You need to make sure it's updated. Your car insurance, your auto, your homeowner's insurance, an umbrella policy, should you be renting or owning a home. That's not an area that I'm licensed in, yet I'm versed in it, and I understand the importance of these types of protections. What is available at my employer? Am I able to put money away into retirement and have them fund and match and give me, quote, free dollars that I may be eligible for? So in this wealth accumulation slide, step one, pay yourself first. Step two is, am I okay? And if so, what does that mean? And that's where we start to look at various estate planning, various succession, maybe college planning, and other types of distribution strategies. And then third, I want to look to take care of my community. I want to look to take care of my synagogue, my church. Okay. Next. Achieving financial independence. So this is probably one of my favorite slides because this is about financial independence. So I'm in the accumulation mode of savings today. So the things I want to look at as I'm reviewing them is savings today. Am I actually saving money, or is it not enough on a monthly basis? What is the interest rate that I'm actually having money earn in this current marketplace, which, as you know, that the banks are paying, there's a Yiddish word called bupkis, which is nothing. What's my time frame? What if I have a disability? What if I get divorced? What if I die? Do I have life insurance? Do I have disability insurance? Do I have long-term care insurance? These are protection. What am I anticipating inflation to be? What if I was unemployed and not able to work for some period of time? And then elder care. My own mom and dad. Dad's 84 this year, mom's 80. My dad's got some dementia. On a monthly basis, I'm heading down to Delray, Florida. Everybody thinks good for me, that's great. And it is. But the most important piece is I'm spending time with my parents. My dad's got dementia. My mom's getting frustrated. I'm sharing this personally with you because this is in my backyard right now. And I'm experiencing this real life. And I'm thankful and I love that I have my father to be experiencing dementia, if you know what I mean, as opposed to my father not being here anymore. So this is like real world, real life scenarios that we want to be conscious of. So not only is this conversation applicable to, quote, you who's listening and participating today, but I say this out of love and friendship that you want to think about brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, as to how financial planning, how planning, even the concept of my book being written, of communication and love your legacy, talking about subjects that are difficult so that, and I'll go over it a little later, so that you have instructions. Like, I never want to look at my mom and dad and look at them and say, what do you want me to do for you? And they can't answer me. Talk about like confronting and upsetting. All right, this slide. So there's certain goals I want to achieve, there's a certain amount of money I have to put away. And why is that? Well, I have to get to a certain level of wealth in order to live a certain lifestyle at a certain age. My money needs to grow at a certain interest rate. There's a certain day that I want to stop working. And now, by the way, I don't care what number we use, but let's make up a number. You want to say it's 60, you want to say it's 65 or 70, that's fine. And by the way, I'm not a huge advocate of retiring like tomorrow, because every day we get dressed, we get prepared to go out in the world and be with people. And the day that stops, the day things like depression, alcoholism, and gambling take place. If you're familiar with peers or friends that you may have observed them having that type of negative impact, so to speak, in the area of retirement. And I've helped like hundreds or maybe 1,000 people, or maybe more, retire. So I've had the experience to ask them the right questions to be able to get to a point where they actually can think about, these are the answers. And I'll actually say something which I think is very powerful. In life, we all know stuff, and we know what we know. And in life, we know that we don't know certain things. I don't know how to read or speak Chinese. There's an area in our world which is, I don't know that I don't know that, if I'm making sense. I don't know certain things. And sometimes I don't even know the questions I should be asking. And when I'm with people sharing and talking about this very difficult discussion or subject called money, I get to ask these questions that people, like, their eyebrow goes up and said, gee, I never thought about that. Or gee, I didn't even, like, wow, that's a great question. So, so having a conversation with an advisor just to go through this process and have an understanding as to how they think and how they should be, quote, leading you down a certain path to have you accomplish freedom and security is really, really worth time in doing that. That's like an FYI. And then on the back end of this slide, you see it says declining wealth, living off of principal. Longevity means how long am I going to be alive for? Inflation. What's inflation going to do over the next 40, 50, 60 years, depending on, how old we are? And then investment risk, and then long-term care as a risk. I personally just bought a policy in the past couple of years, and I'm 56 years old, although I don't feel it. Income needs to be diversified. So I try to break this down in a pretty simple manner. So we all have goals, we have a certain time frame, and we want to put our money in a diversified manner so that our goals get accomplished, and more importantly, the volatility of the markets do not have an impact on you or me making certain financial changes at the wrong time that could have a dramatic impact on our future health and well-being. I'm glad this is being recorded because I think what I spoke was pretty profound.
Mm-hmm. Very profound.
What I mean by that is there's 3 buckets of money in this particular conversation. Money now, used for short-term needs, stable, money market, liquid, an emergency fund. Money soon. Let's say money soon is going to be needed in the next, say, 4 to maybe 7 years. And when you sit down, either on your own, which hopefully you're working with someone, they can help determine what amount of money should be in what pot or what bucket. And then the last bucket, which is this money that I'm going to, use for later, which is my IRA, my 401k, my 403b, my Roth IRA, and putting money in a certain asset allocation, a certain strategy that provides consistency, and I use the expression singles and doubles. At this stage of my life and many of my clients' life, they rely on me with their serious money. And serious money, we don't want to, lose. We want singles and doubles. We want consistency. What I've observed from many prospects when I meet people and I see their financial statements, and this is not bad, wrong, this is just what's true. Over the past 8 or 9 years, as you know, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the stock market's gone through the roof. and we've had a very large bull run. If we had money in the S&P 500, which is a large cap type of a stock investment portfolio, my allocation may have started off at, say, 18% of my investment portfolio. It could be now as high as 40 or 45. And I'm saying this to you so that A, you look at your own investment portfolio, and B, realize that if my allocation in my investment portfolio is weighted too high or too low, it causes volatility. Volatility is the spikes. So take your pointer finger and start to go up and go down with it. And that's called volatility. And that's called fluctuation. And that's what people are afraid of or scared of. And that doesn't work for their health, their well-being, and or more importantly, behavior. Because we then panic or get afraid and say, oh, I'm going to be retiring in 3 years. I can't afford to lose this money. And the only reason why that's happening, in my opinion, something to be looked at if it's of interest to you to discuss with me, is how your allocation is put in place. How is your allocation put in place? So there's a real science to investing, and I'm not sure if people really kind of get that. So here is some statistics. I used the word before about behavior. So investors, specifically do-it-yourselfers, tend to run away at the worst time, and they get out of the market at the worst time, and they never get back in. So in this example, during the biggest bull market in history from 92 to 2011, mutual fund investors significantly lagged the market. So here you had your average equity investor was like 3.5%, and the S&P 500 in this example, guys, did 7.8%. And then factor in inflation at about 2.6, and you're like lucky if you're breaking even because of purchasing power. And what this is meaning, and this is just real world, real life, what's going on in the market, is the investor is panicking or not operating with a proper frame of mind, a proper reference point in taking care of their financial goals, their financial plan, their investments. And by the way, investments is a piece of your financial plan. And I'll be going over that a little later also. So take a look at this as an example. So if I'm going to have money and I'm factoring in my risk, my time frame, my allocation, my savings amount, these are all important considerations in building my wealth. The longer the holding period that I hold my money for, I'm able to reduce the volatility, and I'm able to get the anticipated rates of return that we are looking to accomplish. So as you see, the blue line in the 1-year holding period, if you go down to the 5-year holding period, look at that reduction. And if you go down to the 10-year holding period, look at that significant reduction of being able to hold money in international or small cap or large cap investments. But as time goes on, the percentages actually decrease, which is better for you, the investor. Hopefully this is making sense. Sharon, how are we doing? Let me check in.
We are doing very well.
And can you hear me okay?
Hear you perfectly. If anyone has any problems,
great.
let me know.
Please. Yeah, communicate with Sharon since she's taking questions, just so we're on key here. So I love the word discipline, guys. Love the word discipline. Discipline means I'm not going to have a second slice of pizza because I want to be healthy, and pizza's not on my diet, if you get my drift. Discipline is going to the gym even though I don't feel like it. Discipline is discipline is doing what you said you're going to do even though you don't feel like doing it. And the stronger that you're able to build the muscle called discipline, the healthier and more balanced and, in my opinion, more successful you'll be. Now let's use discipline with money and investing. You need to know who you are, you need to know what your risk tolerance is, and you need to know what your time frame is for the goal of your money. If I plan on buying a house in the next 3 to 5 years, I better not put money in the market because I could lose my money, and I'd rather earn, 1% as opposed to lose 10%. So these are all the different types of investment that I could put money into, and they, as it's speaking, has a low, moderate, or high type of volatility to those investments. A fiduciary. A fiduciary, I'm so authentic. I wear myself on my sleeve. A fiduciary is an honest, straight person with ethics, values, and integrity. And here you could read some of this stuff. Unfortunately, sometimes people go a little selfish, and they tend to do things that are in their best interest as opposed to maybe someone else's best interest, like the consumer. So if you ever read about, problems in the financial industry or thieves or people in my industry that do some stupid, bad things, I guess I want to apologize on behalf of some of those, stupid people for making some very poor choices and hurting people. And I mean that sincerely. Because I could put my head on my pillow at night, personally and professionally, know that I'm doing the best job I can for someone. And that's who I am as a person. I'm about, contribution and making a difference. And if that's in my business or outside my business, that's just who my being is. So you guys could read this, fiduciary. I also, this last piece on the bottom has any discretionary authority, discretion, responsibility in the administration. Folks, it's your money. I don't believe in you giving anybody discretion over your money. It's your money. Anytime I need to do something for my client, they're getting a phone call. They're going to be told what it is I'm proposing, and I'm going to ask for their permission. Why? Because it's their money. So Simon says, you don't give anybody discretion over your money because it's your money, folks. All right, investment policy statement. What is it? It's a document that outlines or creates a roadmap for certain decisions. And we could serve this for procedure or demonstrating prudence, or serve as a basis for monitoring and evaluating what we're trying to accomplish. So for example, in an IPS, an investment policy statement, and I'll just ask you, I'm sure you guys are taking notes right now. Question 1 on your piece of paper, write down the answer, yes or no. Do you currently have an investment policy statement? Okay, good job. If you don't have one, I suggest you get one. Here's what an investment policy statement is, and I'll just keep it very simple. Number 1, how long do I need the money? How long do I want the money to be invested for? 2, how long or how much risk am I willing to take with this money? What is the tax parameters of this money? And then just 4, and I'm just coming off with the top of my head, when am I going to start taking money out of this account? And how much? Investment policy statement. Given what I just said over the past, 15 minutes, I think you could see why having an investment policy statement is pretty important in helping you to come up with an investment plan, an investment scenario. How much, hey, you guys love that? How do you like that? Isn't that great? I put that into my book. It took me so long to figure out, does the tassel go left to right or right to left? Because I wanted my owl, Simon Says, to be a graduate. All right, let's keep going. Thanks, Shannon. Hopefully no one else has hung up because my humor isn't that good. Risk management. Risk management falls under, the conversation of insurance. So this is life, health, homeowners, automobile. life insurance. How much do you need? How much should you have? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have college? I have my daughter's at American University in Washington, D.C., and we changed schools. That means we lost a few credits. You guys get my drift? That means I'm having to pay a little bit more money in this 4-year college education program than I anticipated. Good thing I paid myself first. Good thing I put money into a 529, which I'll go over and explain in a minute, and to help me out, because I find it very, very difficult and absolutely overwhelming to realize how expensive college costs are today and how the system expects us to be paying for it. I'm just baffled, just absolutely baffled by it. So, there's questions, there's processes. I've got tools available to help you determine, should you have $1 million of life insurance? What kind of homeowners or auto insurance or an umbrella policy you should have in place, and to make sure that you're managing and or auditing this so that you're taken care of and your family. Inflation has been relatively low, averaging at about 2%, 2.5%, but there's been years over my life that inflation has been very, very high, like not 6, but maybe even 8, 9%. So you want to look on average, how long historically do we want to plan? And we want to be able to plan for the long term. And the old a quart of milk, a gallon of gas, going out to dinner. We want our money to stay at pace with inflation. Financial objectives. So financial health is more important than assets and liabilities. It's also the amount of risk you're exposed to. And I think I referenced this earlier on one of those slides, which had to do with financial independence. Everything is all well and good. And if I get hit by a bus, or I get laid off, or if my spouse or my parents or someone in my life has a hardship or a death or a disability, that's going to have an impact on you. So, you really need to look at your entire financial picture, your entire, family dynamic, so that you're going to be okay. That you're going to be okay. Because it's very possible, again, I'm just so straight, it's very possible that I may be helping my parents with their financial health and well-being in the future. And that's called sandwich generation. Ding, ding. Sharon, remind me, I have to have a bell next time I do this.
Okay.
You hear about we being in the sandwich generation, and bang, it's right in my face now. I'm going to take care of my parents if they need financial help. Let's not kid each other. And that's going to have an implication on me. I don't know how many of you have children that are in college or graduated college, and maybe these kids are having a hard time finding a job. And maybe they're still living in the house. And maybe they got divorced and they need some financial assistance, or maybe they're back in the house at the age of 35 or 45 years old or 50 years old. I hear this, believe it or not. So these are things that we need to look out for and to be aware of to protect you. Long-term care. If you're out there and you're, say, 50 years old, you should call me. We should look at some long-term care choices, costs to protect your financial plan. I just did a long-term care policy through my life insurance policy. So I personally had some term insurance. I had $3 million a term, and I converted $1 million of it to permanent. So that means it's going to be around forever until I die. And I added a long-term care rider on this program that protects me and, more importantly, protects the wealth that I've established. Because I don't want to be a burden to my children. I'm divorced. I don't want to be a burden to anybody. And I also want to be able to have the dignity, and I want to have the means, the money to hire the right people to take care of me, love me, and to take care of my well-being. And unfortunately, statistics are showing us, and it's getting higher, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to need some form of long-term care assistance as we're getting older. And I'm speaking in the house. I'm not talking like going into a long-term care facility. I'm not talking long-term care facility. And it's a little confronting. I'll invite you, Sharon. We have to figure out if anybody wants a Kindle version of my book. It's my privilege to send it to them.
Okay, thank you.
It's my pleasure to send them the Kindle version, like an email. As I take a deep breath, this like long-term care conversation is confronting, to be very candid with you, given I just returned from being with my mom and dad, just confronting. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to take care of our parents and our loved ones and our spouses. And I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm going to say this, that a very, very dear friend of mine passed away 10 days ago, and the guy was 53 years old, and brain cancer, and married, divorced, 3 kids of his, 2 kids of hers. And I was privileged to be able to be a provider, a healthcare provider to him, because I'm in a 2-family, and he's downstairs. So I'm walking in, I'm walking out. I'm going to say hi to my dear friend Robert and have him smile. So life happens. And I don't have to tell you guys that sometimes the anticipated left or right turn that occurs for us in life happens, and maybe we're not ready to take it. Okay, focus, Saul. Retirement, cash flow. We all want to retire at a certain age. We all want to prepare. If you have a pension plan, you should call yourself lucky, because I do not have a pension, and many people today are many companies are no longer providing pensions. So, so you want to know, like, okay, if I retire, what do I have? What's going to be available to me? At Social Security at a certain age. If anybody's age 62, I really, really would suggest we speak, because I want to show you why it behooves you to delay taking Social Security till the age of 65, 66, if not 70 years old. And this is really, really, really important that you understand what Social Security is, what it can provide for you and your spouse if you're married. I couldn't say significant other, but married. And what it means to you as a financial asset, not only today, but over the next 20, 30 years. This is a very, very, very important point I must reference, because people are making the wrong decision all the time, because human beings think they know what they're doing, and then they look back and they, oh dear, I didn't know, or shoulda, woulda, coulda. Well, guess what? It's too late now. And you only retire once, or you only go through life doing what you're doing, and you really want to have coaches, and you want to make sure you're dotting I's, crossing T's, and doing everything you can. And I just find it so disturbing or upsetting when people look back and say, gee, I didn't know that. Well, you should be asking these questions. So this is, I guess on the bottom, you could see like the red is essential expenses, discretionary expenses. The purple is pension income, Social Security. Am I going to be working? Maybe current income, part-time income. And then is there a pension or other type of retirement income? And then ultimately, I'm going to have to take my money. I'm going to have to take my investments. And I'm going to have to put it in a distribution investment manner to provide me income of X number of dollars on a monthly basis, so that on the 1st of April, the 1st of May, the 1st of June, I'm getting that check for $7,000 or $9,000 a month to help live, to supplement my Social Security, to help supplement my pension, to help supplement my life, to take care of not only my essential expenses, but also my discretionary needs. And this is the purpose of putting together some sort of a game plan, some sort of financial game plan. Now, by the way, I don't know who's on the phone, so I'm just going to say this. You see how on the left-hand side, the slide, look at me, huh, guys? Accumulation phase versus distribution phase. So this is pretty powerful. So as I'm accumulating money, I'm going to accumulate money on a taxable basis, which is saving after-tax money and accumulating money, and then qualified, which is putting money into 401k plans or 403b and IRA. And then on the qualified side, on the distribution phase, this is for that person that you may be retiring in the next 5 years. Well, guess what? You need to take your money and put it in a certain disciplined investment strategy that's going to provide a distribution of income to you with a system, with some method, with like a process. And then I want to look at what's the tax consequence and is it tax advantaged or not? Because at the age of 70 years old, Uncle Sam says you have to take money out of your IRA, not by choice. And I want to be able to look at all these pieces and create some sort of a discipline, some sort of a science so that it's effective. And I want to, when I meet with people, I always look out the window from my conference room and I say to them, you know, in here, we're safe. In here, this is what we're doing and this is the game plan. I don't know what's going to happen outside this room later. I don't know if somebody stupid is going to do something in a high school or an international occurrence is going to occur with ISIS and all these other horrible, horrible things that can happen in the market. When things like that happen, it has an impact on the stock exchange, which has an impact on our pocketbooks. I want to do everything we possibly can to protect and provide and be in as much control as we possibly can so that outside the window that we're all looking out right now, we have some sense as to what we can do about it. Healthy versus at risk. So there's a couple types of healthy income: government income, your pension, Social Security, or insurance contract. Those are healthy income. Saul Simon is not allowed to use the word guaranteed. So you're never going to hear me use the word guaranteed. Sorry. But I could use the word healthy. And then there's this at-risk income, which is like my investments, money I put into the stock market, or deposits over FDIC insurance limits and or non-government types of pension. So when I look at money, I want to look at your entire big picture. I want to see how it's situated and where it is. I told you this before, applying for Social Security at age 62, you're actually reducing benefit by 25% if your full retirement age is approximately 66. And if it's full retirement age of 67, which in my case, I'm 56. I think my full retirement age is like 67 and like 5 months. And if I decided at 62 to take a Social Security distribution, I'm reducing my benefit by 30% on an annual basis for as long as I'm alive. I don't know if you heard my whistle. So if you're considering it, just stop, call me, please. Let me explain to you how we can go about it, because you're going to first say to me, Saul, I need money. Saul, this is all I have. Saul, where am I supposed to get the money from? And there could be other thoughts, choices that we can look at. Keep going. Estate planning. This is overwhelming. So I think I want to all right, I'm gonna say something. All right, I'll do this, and then I want to explain. I have a nice 3 ways assets pass on. Okay, I'm gonna do this first. I hope you don't mind. I know you're taking notes, so feel free to do what I'm about to tell you. Estate planning, assets pass on three ways. The first way assets pass on is through your will. Excuse me. The first way assets pass on is through title. Title. I own a house, I have a bank account, I have a brokerage account. It's in my name, or it's joint rights of survivorship, or it's payable on death. That's title. The second way assets pass on is through contract law. Anything that names a beneficiary contractually is an obligation, and assets pass on in that manner. The third way assets pass on is through my will, my last will and testament. I try to make it so simple. I try to speak simply. I hate talking above someone. I want to talk simplistically. So there's three ways assets pass on: title, contracts like an IRA, 401k, names a beneficiary, life insurance. The last way is wills. Now, folks, listen, if you think for just take 5 seconds, your assets, the way they're positioned right now, is it fair to say that 90% of your assets are owned either by title or by contract law? My point is, there's not a lot of money going through your will, even though you spent thousands of dollars on a will. So the process of estate planning is more of a financial process than it is than a legal process. I'm not a lawyer, and if you're walking around without a will, I'm going to help you get one. If you've got children and you do not have a will, I'm going to have you complete that task, and I'm not going to make you wrong for it. If you have a child over the age of 18, I'm going to make sure, please write this down, your 18-year-old needs to have a living will. A living will says, you could talk to my mom and dad in the event of my inability to talk. Now, I have my daughter in college. Something happens. I want the hospital, I want doctors, I want people to be answering my questions or my ex-wife's questions without delay. And an 18-year-old, ladies and gentlemen, is an adult, and an 18-year-old needs a living will. Please note that. For those of you who have children, for those of you who don't have a will, you actually do. The state of New Jersey, if you're a resident, or the state of New York, if you're a resident, they've got wills for you. You don't want them, and they have wills for you. I told you earlier, I'm not a lawyer. If you decide to want to speak with me, I will find out what your needs are. I will introduce you to someone who is able to help you in your needs, and we don't have to be spending $700 an hour for some, quote, big shot to be doing wills for us when we don't need that type of sophistication, and we need something a little bit more simplistic. I hope you don't mind me speaking so straight. Okay, so that's the purpose. I'm a certified financial planner. So my job, as people call me sometimes, their personal CFO, my job is to introduce you to a proper CPA. My job is to introduce you to a qualified attorney to make sure these documents get completed. I've got connections with mortgages. I don't do mortgages, but I have contacts with, auto insurance. I just got an enormous amount of trusted contacts that I use and have them take care of my clients, my peeps. Critical ensuring wealth. So here's just an example real quick. Here's my personal property, my real estate, my savings, my IRAs, my life insurance, and my business interests. It goes into this funnel. There's certain states that you don't want to live in, like California, Florida, Texas, New York. You have high probate. That's where we may want to have certain trusts in place. And I don't have the time to do that now. We probably should do a whole nother seminar on estate planning and wills. But what ends up happening is all this money goes into the funnel. Then there's probate and or administrative issues. And then there's the state of inheritance and or the IRS tax. And then my spouse, my children, my partners, my business. I do a lot of work with business owners and entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself, but that's probably another type of a seminar that we should do at another time. How we doing on questions? You got a few there?
I have a lot of questions, actually.
All right, so let me look to make it really worthwhile for people. So 3 basic documents. I'm so glad I'm using this webinar, so it keeps me on track. There's 3 basic documents. You have a will, a power of attorney, and a medical directive. A will is, this is who gets what, the executor, executrix in charge of, quote, administering my will, my last will and testament, and that's what the will does. The power of attorney is going to give discretion to someone if a doctor says that I'm not able to make these decisions. Medical directive, living will, healthcare proxy. They go by a couple different names. That's what I was talking to you about, your 18-year-old child. Medical directive is saying, I want this person to know about my medical situation, and I want this person to help make decisions for me if I'm not capable of making those decisions. Please be proactive and have a discussion with your parents, your loved ones, so that your intentions are clear. I mean, I had to have a conversation with my dear friend Rob about cremation and or burial. I had a conversation with a estate planning attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, a divorce attorney to help coordinate and make sure that this guy's plans, I's dotted, T's crossed, were protected and covered. And it was my absolute privilege to take care of him and his family in doing so. I cannot stress the importance of talking to family and family members as to, you know, where is everything, mom and dad? What do you want? Who do you want to get the jewelry? You know, what are my passwords? Can you imagine your spouse dying and you don't know what the password is to get into your banking information? How about estate planning for your pet? I could go off on so many tangents, but I'm just going to kind of keep it. Let's get ready to talk about. Let's talk about some questions.
Do you want some questions?
Let's do questions. Let's do it.
Okay. The first question is, if you have your beneficiaries under the policy, do you also need them to be on a will?
Well, it's 2 different. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's 2 different agreements. You know. The beneficiary of my life insurance policy is going to get the money. You should also have a contingent beneficiary. And the contingent, in my opinion, should not be under the age of, I don't know, at least 25. Because if a 25-year-old came into some money, i.e. my life insurance, that kid's going to drive a really nice car or maybe get involved with a man-woman that may not be in my best interest, if you get my drift. Mm-hmm. So the answer is yes. Because my life insurance is my life insurance. My will is a different document and it's collecting different other assets. Next question.
Okay. A simple question. What is the minimum interest rate that is worth investing your money in? Your opinion.
Well, I don't really know what that question means, but what is the minimum? You know, a bank is giving you, you know, 0.01. So have that person email me because I don't know what that question means. Sorry.
Okay.
Next question.
If this person wants to expand on it, then let me know. Okay. Here's an interesting kind of a 3-part question. The first part is, what do you think of the Acorns app? But here it goes on. There are a lot of articles on how millennials, so we have some young people here, don't know how to invest or are scared to invest. This person has friends, including herself, who haven't started any 401ks because they are so concerned about the, quote, money now bucket that you talked about. What is your advice to that group, millennials, who aren't in?
Yeah, so, you know, the concept of the acorn is brilliant because it's like, you know, the change that is going into your pocket and you're kind of just putting it someplace, i.e. pay yourself first, right, Sharon?
Yes.
So, so I do a lot of work with millennials, and I set them up on a a payment plan, a schedule, a pay yourself first. Every paycheck, every month, X number of dollars is going to go out of that account into an account for them for the future. That's the bottom line. And we're going to have that money be invested for the future. Folks, $1,000, you get $1,000. Are you really going to miss $100 off the top? Like, really? I don't think so. So there's ways of doing this. Tell that millennial there's ways of saving money in a very simplistic. It's also a method of being forced. It's like forced. You know what? Saul just raised your rent by $400. Aren't you happy you met Saul? Because that $400 is now going to be saved for your future. Next question.
Okay. Here's some questions that came in. What are some safe investments to embrace at the age of 44? Sent in by a 44-year-old.
So, hey, you 44-year-old, who are you? When do you want to retire? What is the intention of this money? Is this money needed for the next 2 years or the money needed for the next 20 years because it's for your future retirement? How's your car? How's your washer dryer? Are there large expenses that are coming up that we may need this money? Do you have an emergency fund, Mr. or Mrs. 44-year-old? I need to ask you those questions in order to give you the guidance as to where do I put this extra money that you're saving for. So I apologize, but Simon says can't answer that question without asking more questions. That makes sense, Sharon?
Yes, it does. If this person wants to elaborate, feel free. People are sending in more things. Next question is going to be a Roth IRA versus traditional, and what's the difference, and what are the pluses and minuses investing in a Roth IRA? Okay.
Yeah, excellent. Those
are two questions combined, by the way.
Yeah. So first, thanks for everybody's participation today, because I just love educating people, and I know everybody's busy and you're taking the time to do this. So complimenting you for taking the time and caring about your own financial health and well-being. A Roth IRA is an investment account that you're putting after-tax money into. It's growing tax-free. And when you take it out at the age of 59 and a half and or later, the distribution is tax-free. An IRA is money that I get a deduction on, and it grows tax deferred. And at 59 and a half or mandatory at 70, I'm required to take out some amount of this money, and I'm required to pay income tax on it. What's more advantageous? I don't know your situation. Here I go again. It's like that 44-year-old. I need to ask those questions. I need to know, and by the way, having Roth versus non-Roth diversification is actually also okay. Having money grow tax-free, having money grow tax-deferred, having money grow taxable. It's also good to have monies growing in those different pots. But candidly, there's no straight, true or false answer for a lot of this, because it's based on you. It's based on you. It's your financial plan. It's your money. It's your feelings. It's your investments. Next question.
Okay, this is two questions combined once again. Someone wants you to, you talked about a 529. If you can explain what a 529 fund is, and the second part is, can a 529 college fund be started for a teenager?
Great question. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. 529. So 529 is a college savings account. 529 is like an IRS code, which says I could put money into this account. It's going to grow tax-free. I'm going to have it be for my child, the beneficiary. I get to choose if I want to take the money out or not. I get to change the beneficiary if I want to or not, because it's my account. And when the money grows tax-free and it's invested for X number of years, when I take the money out, I'm distributing it out tax-free for the benefit of qualified higher education, like tuition, room and board, meals, an Apple an Apple computer, and all the other quote, except for beer money, all the other necessary expenses that are associated with going to college. Almost. So college, tuition, room and board, Apple computer. And if I'm a teenager, or do I have a teenage son? What is that? Like, I have clients that put money into a 529 for themselves because it's growing tax-free. And maybe as a retiree, I want to take a course and I'm going to take money out of there. I don't have children yet. Well, guess what? You could still open up a 529 with the intention that someday I'm going to have a kid, and all right, boom, I'm going to put away $100 a month. And I could always change the beneficiary from me to, quote, Jack, my son.
Oh. Thank you. I didn't know you could do that.
My job, we all have jobs in life. And I have a passion for my job because I don't look at this as like my job. I just don't look at it like, quote, work. When you know the advantages and disadvantages of something, when you know the advantages and disadvantages of a product, you're now able to tailor the product so it fits your needs. So it fits your needs. And the game plan is to be selfish, ladies and gentlemen, and do everything you possibly can do selfishly to make more money, pay less in fees, and pay less in taxes. If you take anything away today, Simon says be selfish. Pay yourself first, pay less in fees, less in taxes, and take care of you. Next question.
Okay, I'm going to ask a specific. This is someone I know is 62. Is a 3% fixed interest rate a good investment for retirement because it's an option in this person's TIAA fund?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions? I don't mean to be so abrupt about it, but here's the thing.
Okay.
If I was talking to him, I would want to know how much money are we talking about. Number one. Number two, again, guys, what's that saying? If I feed you lunch, you're full, but if I teach you how to fish, you could feed yourself forever. I'm trying to feed you. This person, this 62-year-old person who has a 403B plan, a savings plan, like a retirement account, and she or he has this option where I could put 3% I could put my money into an account earning 3%. 3% is fixed, 3% is safe, 3% is 3%.
Okay.
If I'm going to be alive for the next 25 years, and if inflation is at 2.5%, is this 3% account going to meet this woman's needs? True or false?
False.
I don't think so. So I hate to be so abrupt, but Mr. and Mrs. 62-year-old, why don't you call me? I'll ask you to send me your statement, and we'll figure out what percentage of money should be in the CREF portion and what percentage should be in the TIA portion, if any, so that you're in control and ultimately you have what you have, not today, but 10 years from now. And by the way, I'll say that one too. I say this often, I forgot. The decisions you're making today, guys, it's not going to have an impact on you tomorrow or in 3 or 5 years from now. The decisions you're making today are going to have an impact on you 10 years from now. I'm telling you this, and I'm saying this stuff to you. I'm being hard about it too. I'm being hard about it. I'm being a little forceful. This is serious stuff. Next question.
Okay, I'm going to ask this one, and then there's one three-parter. What is the best way as a younger person to save your money? Okay, because you're saying, ages. This is a younger person wants to save liquid money because bank interest rates are horrible. What is your suggestion?
Let's open up a Vanguard S&P 500 indexed account, and let's add $100 to it on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Now, you better not listen to me like I just gave you an answer. please have the courtesy to either speak to an advisor, talk to the Vanguard representative, understand the risks that this is. Like, please don't take what I'm saying today as these are concrete answers. That's not fair. True or false?
True.
It's not fair. Not fair. It's like, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, let me have surgery. You need to go to a professional. You need to ask these questions. I'm going to invite you that if you have $250,000 of liquid investable assets, to actually, reach out, contact me. I'll send you an email with secure in the subject line, and I'm willing to look over, review, and give you a second opinion gratis. It's my treat. It's my privilege. In addition, Sharon and I are going to send you, if you want, my book, my Kindle version of Simon Says, Love Your Legacy, a guide to financial education for you and your family. There's certain chapters in there based on who you are that are applicable. There's 200 pages in the book. When I speak to people, I say to them, look, read the following chapters and get some value out of it and come back to me. So, so anyway, keep going, Sharon.
Okay, it's 1:31, so if you have to go,
Yeah.
okay, but I'm going to ask questions about documents now that people are just asking. These are probably a little easier, but is it best to obtain a durable power of attorney? I don't know.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the power of attorney document. Yes, that's one of the 3 documents that you must have.
Okay.
And the durable power of attorney document, you get 2 choices. One, today's choice is, you can give your husband or your sister the decision-making capability to make decisions for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that person can go to the bank, or that person can go to the real estate office and sell your house. The second provision is, I need a doctor to say that I'm incapable of making decisions, and only then is when my power of attorney kicks in, which is the one I recommend. Not to say that I don't trust people, but next question.
Okay. Do either of these documents trump each other? Which one trumps? There's a will or an insurance policy. Does one have more weight than the other?
Yeah. Life insurance is a contractual obligation. Your IRA names a beneficiary. Your 401k names a beneficiary. Anybody got divorced out there and did not change their life insurance or their IRA 401k plan beneficiaries, you better do it, because these are things that human beings forget to do. And next thing you know it, when I see, that's why I asked for this paperwork. When I see who the beneficiaries are, when I see who the owner is, when I see these things, I say to people, is this what you want? And all of a sudden somebody falls off a chair, or their eyes pop out. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I never changed the IRA beneficiary, or I didn't change the life insurance beneficiary. Those are fun meetings. Go ahead, next question.
Okay, I'm going to ask 2 more and then we're going to go. Should spouses obtain total access to each other's IRA?
Say again?
Should spouses obtain total access to each other's IRAs?
You really can't give a spouse access to each other's IRA unless you have a power of attorney or an investment stated document that's saying I can access and I know about my wife's, and you can access and I know about my husband's. I would think it's kind of hard to do that. But I would ask your investment broker if you and your husband want to accomplish that. I would ask. You got to understand, an IRA is in your name. It's in Sharon's name. And the only person is going to be able to be spoken to is Sharon. So there's not like a joint account for an IRA. It's an individual account. Next question.
Okay, this is going to be the last question because I feel like this person, okay, you said pay yourself first and save, and this is all about investing your money. But this person wants to know, doesn't paying off your debts way sooner affect your credit score or affect your chances to get a loan? So I think that they're asking, is it better to start investing or pay off your debts first?
You know, you're going to get mad at me, whoever asked this question, but here I go again. I'm sorry. I guess I'll apologize first. I need to know, what kind of debt is it? Is it a mortgage or is it credit card? Is it school loan debt?
I don't think it's a mortgage because they're asking about getting chances to get a loan for a house. So it's not a mortgage. So it's going to be other debts.
So it's, you know, you got to do this calculation, miss or sir. The calculation is if I'm paying 18% in credit card debt, I would get rid of that immediately. Saul Simon does not like credit card debt. I didn't make you wrong for not having a will or any of the legal documents, but I get on fire when I see credit card debt. Not for you to get mad at me or me get mad at you, but we need to spend wisely. If you don't have the money to spend, don't spend it. How am I supposed to get ahead in life if I'm getting not even 1% in the bank and I'm being charged a credit card at 16%? I'm like getting nauseous. Folks, I'm here to help you. If you have $250 in investable assets and you want to have a conversation with a certified financial planner, it's my privilege to do that with you. If you've got questions, feel free to email me. I'm cool. I'm going to send a copy of the book. I don't know how we're going to figure that one out. Maybe you'll send me an email and I'll send you the book. I don't know. We'll figure that one out, how we're going to do that. And if you got value out of this, tell Sharon, and we can come back and do another one or two.
Send your emails to me if you want. Can I ask you one more question? Because this one is, I don't know.
No more, Sharon, no more questions. I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
No, this person has a family member that has a life insurance policy that the beneficiary is the person's boyfriend of 15 years, and she doesn't want the person on as the beneficiary anymore. And her company says she can't take him off. Is that true? Can you change your beneficiaries?
Are they married?
They are not married.
So I work for an employer, and I named my my girlfriend as beneficiary.
Yes.
And the employer is now saying I can't change the beneficiary and the relationship as a girlfriend?
Yes.
I disagree with that.
Okay. I just had to ask.
Call me if I can help. That's not cool. There's no legal reason why the beneficiary needs to be that person. Now, granted, if in fact there was a marriage, it's a different story. Nope. Specifically with retirement assets, and maybe even my life insurance, I'm naming a beneficiary, but boyfriend thing, you threw me. I'd have to look into that. I don't understand the rationale. Okay. Honestly, I don't understand the rationale. And by the way, I'm one of those guys, business owners, human beings that do not know all the answers. And out of respect for myself and for you, it's okay with me that I don't know the answer, and I'll get back to you and I'll get you the information. So that's just the way I operate, folks.
Thank you. Okay, so we're a little over the time, but people are saying thank you very much. They would like more webinars. I want to thank everybody for coming. If you do want a copy of the Kindle book, you can send me your information. I will send out an email with, or we're going to post this on YouTube, and you can see it again. But we will send out all the information. If you have any more questions, please let me know. And Saul, thank you very much. This was very interesting.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm going to send you an email. Tell Sharon, tell Sharon you're in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s, because I might be able to do something to help Sharon pass it on to you, or to make it a little bit more tailored and personal for you and your needs.
Okay. Yeah, so if you have questions, be a little more specific. But thank you all for your questions. Saul, thank you very much for doing this. We'll be in touch. And
okay, great.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye, Saul. Thank you.
Bye-bye.